Oh, it always is.
Won't we? All right, I'll start the video now.
Next, President Gorbachev's address. Coming up next, President Gorbachev's address in which he calls for a new system of international alliances now that the Cold War is over.
This is not 1956.
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia.
The video
not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia.
President Gorbachev's address. Coming up next, President Gorbachev's address in which he calls for a new system of international alliances now that the Cold War is over.
He acts like he thinks the Cold War is still on. Russia is still our major adversary.
I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
You've all heard it. Any discussion of communism or the possible existence of the communist bloc brings on the same old line that the Cold War is over. If communism died and Russia is no longer a threat, then there is no good reason for NATO. But the threat of Bolshevism still emanates from Moscow. Every single communist country on the planet is strategically aligned behind Moscow. Russia receives drones from Iran, armaments from North Korea, economic aid and strategic defense from China. They are building bases in Nicaragua, sending thousands of tons of grain to Cuba, and posturing with Mexico and every socialist Latin American nation. Building statues of Lenin in occupied Ukrainian territories, re-erecting the statue of the founder of the Cheka, or KGB, in front of the SVR. They routinely call for the old Soviet goal of creating an open Eurasia, from Lisbon to Vladivostok. For the geographical illiterate, that's all the way to Portugal. They took away our enemy and let us believe we won the Cold War. The only thing that died in 1991 was anti-communism.
The Cold War's been over for 20 years.
All right, hello, good sirs. I hope you've all had a good public holiday. I'm Hector, and I'm here with my co-host Gilbert.
G'day, everybody. How's it all going?
Hope you're all doing well. We've got an interesting episode for everyone today. Oh, whoops, something auto-played. We got...
We're not PBS, by the way.
There's this Discord leaks. What, Discord leaks on the news? That's sort of weird. Anyways, ignoring that. We got a couple things to cover today. New Zealand topic. We've got crazy Maoris doing huckers and asking for KFC at Waitangi, chucking and jiving. We've got crazy stuff going on in the Middle East, and more. We'll keep it at that. Lots more. Well, I guess we'll start with our New Zealand topics because that's usually the way we do it. So, we'll just start with a headline: hundreds attend hoki at Waitangi. Now, this is where I'm confused. Isn't like hoki a fish?
Yeah, I think so. Hokey pokey, maybe. I thought it was the ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah, they attended giant ice cream festival of hokey pokey. See that guy? The guy in the front there waving. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure, we're here for the hokey pokey ice cream, G." Yeah. Anyway, an estimated 700 people were joined to eat some ice cream at Waitangi today.
Yeah, it's like 700 isn't even that much. Like, considering how much the media's been hyping up, it's like, oh, all the white people are being not mean to the Maori, not giving us any KFC. Like, I think it would be a bit more than 700. Like, 700 seems sort of low.
Not that big for sort of like an event that's supposed to be of big cultural and I guess ethnic importance for Maoris, right? But and especially in contrast to how much they tried to play down the numbers of the Parliament protest,
Yeah, like 30,000.
Yeah. I mean, there was heaps there. Like, yeah, that was. But yeah, they tried to cover it up, but it's like I remember
initially,
but then they were like, crap. Okay, there's too many people. Like you couldn't
sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has eyes and ears. They can see it all. So yeah, but
But yeah, so the New Zealand story today, a bunch of Maoris were shucking and driving to get some hokey pokey ice cream. Pretty crazy stuff. Waving the St. George flag for some reason.
They don't seem very enthused.
Yeah, it's pretty low energy, isn't it?
Yeah, did you see how they were walking? Anyway.
Yeah, so it didn't really seem that high energy. Only 700 people showed up for ice cream, and like half of them probably were just like white communists anyway that showed up.
True. Yeah.
Anyways, well, that's just the intro. We'll get into some of it. Let's see what some of the people that showed up to the Waitangi Hokey Pokey ice cream event had to say. So here's Winnie P. I haven't actually watched this yet. Let's see what Winnie P has to say for himself. See if he says something epic or something cringe. Wait, it's muted.
Because we have another appointment with a number of ambassadors from overseas. They've come all the way to this country to advance.
I came here for some hokey pokey.
And our efforts internationally. And
all the way from Samoa.
The second thing I want to say is, this has been one extraordinary day. I'm hearing some things I.
Is that the person wearing like a
giant blanket or something? I don't even know if that's like a Maori thing. But...
And they were shouting the trees are fraud.
Yeah, I don't know if Maoris invented blankets.
That's not the narrative you need. You see what I mean?
They definitely didn't invite like Latin letters. That's for sure.
Cowboy hats. A lot of them like to wear cowboy.
Yeah, I don't really get it. Why do so many of them? Why are they appropriating our culture and wearing cowboy hats all the time?
Yeah, they're
funny. Like, pause it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
4 cowboy hats in the background. What's going on with these Maoris appropriating our cowboy culture?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I find that offensive, actually.
That which is true is not new.
As a cowboy.
And that which is new from these other people is simply not true. Whoever said we're getting rid of the Treaty of Waitangi? Tell me. No, we didn't. You tell me.
You know what I always think is weird? It's like, I'll just pause it for a sec. You know how like Maoris always go, "Oh, the treaty is racist because all the Europeans came here and made us sign a treaty," and then like you go, oh, "Okay, we'll get rid of the treaty." They go, "Oh no, let's not get rid of the treaty. That's racist."
It's like, well, what do you want? It's kind of like we're like serving like a bunch of babies or something, you know? It's like, okay, well, what do you want? Do you want this burger or this burger?
I don't want it. Okay, I'll take it away. No, I want it.
It's
like a toddler.
It's like, what do you people want? Like, we all have to live in this country together.
I think you know what they want. They just want like free stuff. It's literally give me that. It's like give me the gibbs. Give that.
As soon as gives me that. Because like as soon as they have that ascendant class that they want to achieve as Maori above all other New Zealanders, it'll basically just be like more free shit. Basically, similar
give
to
me
like,
that shit, cracker. Give me that. That's basically like that's what they want. Continue.
Stop the nonsense. Stop the hysteria. Some of us were out there before you were born fighting for Maori land rights. Do you remember 1945?
Yeah, well, I mean, all they're doing is just being like uppity and well, they weren't even really shucking and jiving. They didn't even have enough energy to do that. Didn't even have the energy to shuck and jive.
Yeah, because they're so used to like being treated like they're walking through a free supermarket. Like that's New Zealand to them, so they're just like browsing through. Oh, where's the pokey fish and the ice cream?
Oh, it's a hokey pokey.
Oh,
this is sort of.
Where's the hokey pokey ice cream, G? We didn't come to hear you speak, Winston. Look, we've got no hokey pokey ice cream for you. It's not here. We're here to talk about the treaty.
I hope because we have focused on the fundamentals that people need. Safe, affordable housing. A house that's
hokey pokey.
The third thing we want
hokey pokey flavoured KFC. That'll be passive for centuries.
And then 100 years after that, they'll say, "Oh, the white man impressed us with KFC flavoured hokey pokey ice cream, and then we got even fatter, and we couldn't do anything."
Is that even possible? How can you get like fatter than like the average BMI of the Maoris these days?
Yeah, I guess you could. You've got Americans, but
And on the
I don't know. I think Maori's have a beat, to be fair.
Yeah, maybe they're competitors.
Oh, what'd you do to your camera, Joe?
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
some Maori just slapped the camera out of her hand. Just fucking the hokey pokey G.
Let me tell you, sunshine. I used to go to the marae where they had a thing.
It is sort of cringe, though. Winston does this every now and again. He's like, oh, you're not Mary, I'm Mary. I went to the marae.
Yeah.
This sort of...
that's kind of based in a way. I kind of like that. Get an education. That's like the new way to be racist, like in New Zealand in the modern day. Get an education.
Right.
What does Enoho mean?
I don't know.
Yeah,
or KFC or something, probably.
Oh god, probably.
Right,
well, he did his best, but yeah. You know what's funny? Yeah, you can keep going, but I'll just mention in passing that it is. I don't think we're quite capturing it, but it is pretty amazing how like you know, they got really disappointed. They got really upset, and they were you know, whining and screaming and stuff at certain points. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, Hector.
Oh no, we don't have to play it now. You can give your thoughts on what you just heard and what happened.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just I don't want to drag it out too long, but yeah, that, and also like, what else? What else do they want? You know, it's like this is the government we have. You know, we're all supposed to be. I mean, the idea of New Zealand is supposed to be that we're all operating as equals, right, or something like that. So it's funny that things should turn out like this, but I mean, this is what you can expect. I mean, no matter what, in every kind of liberally designed or liberal progressive designed society, you're going to get competing groups, no matter what. But we'll continue with that. We'll see more about this when we hear what Shane Jones has to say.
All right, let's see what Shane Jones has to say. Why is there all them muted? Hold
it. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll start that again.
Yeah.
I want to be absolutely clear and honest. I don't understand why the Waitangi Tribunal believes it has the power and authority to gainsay a newly elected government with an electoral mandate
the country club or something.
He's on a mission to redefine the scope of the tribunal.
What gives the Waitangi Tribunal members the belief that their power is greater than the voting democratic will of Kiwis?
And separate to David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill, which Jones doesn't want to support, he wants all references to the treaty principles in legislation reviewed.
I think it's about 57 individual references to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. And many of those pieces of legislation, the public don't even know they're there. In fact, I didn't even know they were there. And that's a body of work that we'll quietly chip away at.
The government is under no illusion about the welcome they might get when they show up at Waitangi tomorrow.
Yes, well, I will be...
No, it was actually sort of underwhelming. I was expecting more considering all the hype,
my
like all the media's been going,
walk along with me and be on watch for any stray dildos.
Yeah.
But there's a feeling tensions are being stoked by inflammatory language.
I deeply resent the rhetoric coming out of the Māori Party.
If you go back to that bit 10 seconds ago, it kind of looks like the old folks' home just came out to play or something. Like they're all old for some reason, and then there's some nude abo in the foreground, in the up front there for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
They're Maoris, but they're like Maori LARPers at the same time because they've got like suits on.
Look at all the cowboy hats. It's like, come on.
see what I mean? They're all wearing cowboy hats.
Like, can I get a cowboy hat? Like, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 at least.
Yeah, and then they've got suits, and then some of them have those like sticks with the Maori carvings on it, those walking sticks, and then they'll have like the massively oversized tikis that they wear. it's like what would you call that, Hector? It's like the Maori
thingy, yeah.
But what do you call it? You call it like the Maori complainer starter kit, like
yeah, that is sort of it.
Yeah,
like if you see someone wearing one of those like greenstone things around their neck, they're probably like going to start whining about something.
Yeah, yeah, Greenstone with the cowboy hat and oh well, and the walking stick. You
Or
know
the
they've
mocha,
got some.
or whatever that's called, the face tattoo.
Mm, mm, mm. The
Yeah.
Moko or the
So
yeah,
it's like I'm about to start complaining about Whitey starter kit.
yeah, pretty much. That's yeah. So that's them, and so just look out for those types. Everybody, try not to approach them because they might come up to you, poke them with their Mari-styled carved walking stick, and go, "Gee, where's the KFC? I didn't get my pay of KFC today." Yeah, so just when you're around uni or at work, just be careful about that. But yeah, it looks like the old folks' home out in full force, ready to get their hokey pokey ice cream, I guess, and some Aboriginal guy dancing around nude. This is
Well, there's the shucking and jiving. I couldn't see it earlier.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, they yeah, they don't seem very. They almost kind of look like the rabbis, don't
Yeah,
they?
the hats. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
especially
maybe
like sort of this one here, the little sort of shady one, and a black suit, and the hat.
Yeah, but a lot of them are like similar style, like steal his look. Yeah, they all look.
Still Shlomo Rabbi Stein's look.
Yeah, maybe that's the look they were going through, but they added a little twist with the cowboy hat. But yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, interesting. I just thought I'd comment on that. It's very funny. But okay, so we can play this quickly if you like.
Is that all we had on Waitangi? Oh
Yeah.
no, we'll do this one and then we'll do the Chinese one. We'll sort of keep it in order, I suppose.
Yeah.
We've said what Shane Jones and Winnie P has to say. See what Seymour has to say. Alright, it's muted again. Come on.
Oh shit. Okay.
Alright, start again.
The treaty was signed by two explicitly defined parties at the time, the Crown and Māori Rangatira. So how...
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, it's like not... Is it playing for you?
Oh, wait, there we go. Can you see it now?
Oh, yep. Thanks.
Right, I'll play it from the start so you can see it.
The treaty was signed by two explicitly defined parties at the time, the Crown and Māori Rangatira. So how would it be just for one of those parties to reinterpret the principles as it wishes without the consent of the other party?
It's been reinterpreted quite a lot.
Well, it depends exactly how you think of it today and what is the relevance of that to a child born in New Zealand today. So if you turn it around, a kid born in New Zealand today, should they be treated differently, whether they get consulted, whether they get on a board, whether they get a position as one of the co-CEOs of the Human Rights Commission, for example, because of an agreement that some people signed and others didn't? So this is ultimately about equal rights for all.
The treaty.
Yeah, and I kind of, of course, I don't totally agree, but like, I think I agree with what he's saying, and I think this has been like a long time coming, right, Hector? I can remember this sort of sentiment of, oh gosh, these Maori, they won't give it a rest, like.
Well, I think there still is that sentiment, to be fair.
And I think it's gotten worse, and worse.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
That they've just become more uppity, more what's the word, entitled,
whining more entitled, yeah.
Yeah, and
having a cry,
yeah.
going, Whitey made me poor and didn't give me enough KFC.
Yeah, they
took
feel
away
that
my superpowers. I used to be 9 foot tall.
Yeah, and we're getting charged extra in taxes so they can chill out at the ferry on the weekend, and just like sit around in a circle and talk about, my ancestor Maui, he pulled up a giant KFC wing and he said it was the best wing he's ever had, eh? And yeah, pretty much that's all they do, and the Marais and the furries. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I think this is like, it's kind of come to, what would you call it, like an inflection point now, I think, with all this.
Well, I mean, the last couple of elections, like, no one really even talked about it. It only really popped up this election. So, I mean, that sort of shows that public sentiment. People are like, why are people just getting sick of like brown people complaining all the time? We saw it with the Voice referendum in Australia, how that was like getting shilled by like basically the entire establishment. But then literally the Australian people just still said no. They're like, nah, enough of this nonsense. Like, stop whining all the time. We're getting sick of it. We sort of saw that in Australia, and we're seeing that now in New Zealand. And it's sort of interesting, like how afraid, like these leftoids and brownoids are, of literally democracy, because Seymour goes, oh, maybe we should have like a referendum on what the like treaty actually means and would define it properly instead of it just being 3 vague articles. And apparently it just means give us more money for like Maori. So maybe we should like actually define it, and then like they all get up and go, oh no, we want it the way it is, even though it was racist that we've decided in the first place.
Yeah, money and more rights, and heck, if they can pull that off, if they, I don't think this will go through by the looks of it.
I don't think it will. But
yeah, because it's all just come on, it's a bit, Maori's getting more rights and having more power, in New Zealand than others. Like, it's like, give me a break. But if something like that did go through, as we know, there was major communist influence in the 1970s in New Zealand, mainly in Maori communities. That something like that could have spiraled way out of control if it did go through. But luckily, New Zealanders have at least that much sense, by the looks of it. And it's just the Twitter lefties that are just having a big...
Just coping and seething all the time.
Yeah, all the time. These people are always coping and seething. Like, do you guys not want to be like losers for a second? But yeah,
no, they've been coping and seething like since the election. It's like, oh, the racist people won the election. Oh, this is so mean to me. Oh,
it's not working. It's I gotta say, it's quite heartening to see that's just not working in New Zealand.
Like I said, people are just getting sick of it. Like, people are just getting sick of people like whining all the time.
That's the one thing good thing you can say about New Zealand people, is that they're so down to earth. I think perhaps that when this happens over and over again, they're just like, what are you talking about? That this is just silly, But yeah, so I don't know. That's my take on the sentiment or the general psychology of New Zealanders in response to this debacle. But yeah, I mean, on the other side, the fact that this kind of that this really agitated the base of Maoris in New Zealand is kind of a bit of a subject for concern, don't you think? I mean, because that's because if you have I say motivated base, but what I mean by that is you have a group of people who are this against the government and this willing to come out like this, in quite an anti-white way, actually, then yeah, it does spell, I'll say, a little bit of concern. I don't know if it's going to be anything like major or anything.
Well, I mean, the mediocre turnout at the Waitangi event today sort of shows that it's probably not that big a concern, really. It's just like, very sort of whiny, very uppity, very negative minority of a minority that's just like likes to complain all the time.
But at the same token, just to spin around again, like it is there is something to be said for preserving who someone is and certain people groups, let's say, and I believe in that, and I think that's fair and that's fine, but of course this wasn't poised in that way. It was poised as like racist white people.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like you say that, but it's like, if they're getting that upset about a treaty and they like put their whole identity around a treaty, like a treaty with 3 articles signed in like 180 years ago, 170 years ago, it's like you might want to like refine your identity a bit more than it being about a piece of paper.
Yeah, well, that's true, and yeah, you may want to have made it very clear beforehand about what it said, if it's so disheartening. But it seems pretty clear that the chieftains, at least, or the couple that I've read were seemed quite clear that about what they signed on.
Yeah, well, it was a turbulent time. I mean, it was during the middle of the Musket Wars, so Maoris were just killing each other like en masse by the thousands.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I
the
mean,
British came in and basically put a stop to it. Like, okay, you can stop killing each other, stop eating each other.
Yeah, here's some KFC and here's some ice cream. And it's like, oh, sure.
Sort yourselves out. We're in charge now.
They just fattened them up so that they were too fat to move over to the next tribal area to kill each other. So there we are, lads. They're too rotund to be able to lift their own mess up in order to eat each other. Job well done, lads. Sorry, what was the point you were making?
They sort of knew what they were doing. They're like, okay, the British Empire, they're the big chief now, so you're subservient to them. Like, it's not that hard of a concept.
Yeah.
You go, Maori didn't understand our idea of sovereignty. It's like, well, no, it's not really that hard to understand. Like, this is the big chief. It's a pretty simple concept, really.
Yeah, it's very, and I think the chieftains like looked at that, and by their own words and admission, I think they understood this.
They did, absolutely,
yeah, and they said, okay, that this is good for everyone. This is a healthy ultimatum for all the tribes.
It'll bring peace,
It'll be bring peace. They talk about there's that woman who looks almost like a white woman with like a bit of Maori who said, and quite a few people have been saying, oh, Maoris are undergoing a genocide, and it's like, there are a lot more Maoris. Exponentially, there are more Maoris now than there are in the past. So it's not really like, not at all. That their numbers are quite healthy in New Zealand, from what I understand. So,
the highest it's ever been. So.
Yeah, more and then you've got that's factoring, not even including the Maoris in Australia as well. There's a significant portion.
Yeah, a couple 100,000 there.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So yeah, I think I think they've benefited. It's like what? So it's like
what's the alternative? Just like killing and eating each other till there's like no one left. It's like, wow, that's a great alternative.
I mean, I gotta say, I was pretty ignorant to this, I have to admit, but reading about it, it makes you go, holy shit! Like that's a level of violence like that you just. It's sort of like a level of violence in like a Diablo 2 thriller game or something, that's what I get. Sorry, that's what I can compare it to. But it's like, man, it's really quite harrowing, I guess would be the word. Like reading about the settlers and the people who traveled there back then. So they're in dire need of something, some overarching force to, stop the bloodshed, because it was bloody violent.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some reason they just don't cover that. They go, oh, the white man made me do it or something. I mean, as they still do to this day.
Yeah, I mean, and if they wanted to like, revive their culture and all that, they absolutely could. There is there is interesting stuff there. That I certainly wasn't privy to, and that if they want to really be part of the development of the world, then they should bring that side of that untapped part of their culture out, and as a healthy expression of who they are, instead of being negative and pessimistic about, oh, the white man keeping me down. There's a lot of artwork and a lot of esoteric Maori stuff, knowledge and stuff, and then they've got their botany, which is also quite interesting. And I mean, it's like they don't have to, but with brown people, it's the same sort of psychology, it seems. And I don't know if communism or Marxism has like catalyzed that.
Like Marxism and liberalism just brings it back to like the core tenet of just like blame whitey. Like the anti-white, anti-Western alliance is just like get all these minorities to blame whitey for all their problems.
And that's exactly the mission that Marx and all of his disciples, I guess, wanted to bring about it, and that's exactly what happened. So I mean, it's again, this is quite heartening, but it's like everybody's too lazy to fight for anything really in this country, so we're just getting flooded by Pajeets. But hopefully that'll turn around. I mean, I want to say one more thing, just quickly, that it's good, everybody's a person and we're all human and whatever, but I mean, there is something to be said that New Zealanders deserve, they do deserve a special privilege, or so to speak. Well, not a special privilege. Well, yeah, over someone who just hopped off the plane here, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, in an ideal society, that's how it should function.
Yeah, and you just don't hear that from Luxon, Seymour, or even Peters anymore. So it will be good to finally hear that from them. And I've criticized Seymour a lot in the past. I mean, this was decent, but I mean, yeah, it's like that needs to be talked about, because then it doesn't matter if we're Maori or NZ European. We're gonna be, there's gonna be Pajeets everywhere and Chinese everywhere, like this lady.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's look at this. I haven't actually watched this, so apparently you got the Chinese daily with a bunch of like gobbledygook moon runes saying something. So,
RuneScape runes, yeah.
Yeah, RuneScape. I think that's like the fire rune or something. Well, see what happens here. So, oh wait, I'll go back and read that. I didn't actually really read that properly.
Oh,
Chinese New Zealand member of parliament delivers a speech in Mandarin, Cantonese, English, and Maori for the first time in parliament, allowing multilingual confidence in delivering a compelling address that captivates the entire chamber.
And this is just like where it's more leftist kind of
captivates the entire
Yeah,
chamber.
oh.
Wow. Imagine that. Going, oh, hello, you wash off like, that's going to captivate the entire chamber, I bet.
Chicken fried pork chop suey. Anyway.
Finally, I take this opportunity to say sincerely
thanks.
Thank you.
Yiddish. Yeah, they forgot Yiddish.
In New Zealand.
Oh,
感谢每一位。
Look, they put in a fake clapping sound. No one's clapping.
Look at that.
It's like that's edited.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
No
Look at
clapping.
that. It's empty.
Oh, it's empty and no one was clapping. That's like edited sound. What the hell?
Oh god, that's great.
Chinese propaganda really needs to they need to work on this. That's sort of sad. That was pretty funny. I wasn't expecting that.
Hoping you would notice.
Yeah, what's up with that? That was just bizarre.
Typical CCP antics,
Yeah. Fake round of applause.
Yeah.
快手，拥抱每一种生活。
It's just blatant Chinese propaganda.
Well,
Because
I mean,
all
just
links
look at
back
it.
to the CCP.
I mean, you've got China Daily reporting on some no-name MP that no one's ever heard of going,
Yeah,
oh,
I don't know.
hello, you wash off right, and then they add a sound of applause. It's like,
Who
wow,
are
this is a victory for multiculturalism.
Is she a national MP or what's the deal?
Oh, probably. Yeah, we all know that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they all sort of do, but National loves China probably the most out of any of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, national or act. Yeah. So that's I mean, it's just like we can talk about equal rights all day, but I mean, it's like, what about us all as New Zealanders? What is the government doing to protect us? And I think that that really has to.
Oh, that sort of takes the cake. You've got these Chinese state-run medias doing these bizarre propaganda pieces. They go, "Oh, the Chinese person in New Zealand got a big round of applause for saying hurrah."
Yeah, basically, that's always how it is. They always do.
I can't get over that fake round of applause. It's
Yeah,
what the heck?
Play it again. Let's see it again. Full screen it and let's see it again, because that is bizarre.
I think it was
sooner.
Yeah, further back.
More towards the start.
So
Oh,
you go,
back.
Yeah. Watch this. Oh, there's two people clapping, but the sound effect is...
Go back to what
That is the National Party, by the way. That is the National Party MP, because the two people clapping were on the National Party government side of the bench. Yeah, there's literally 1-2 people clapping. I make it sound like the entire Parliament burst into applause. And look, the sound effect's still going, even though they're not clapping.
Yeah, even though they've stopped. Yeah, go back to where.
Back here.
Again. Stop there. Yeah. Stop there. Oh,
two people clapping. There's none of the Labour Party even bothered to show up.
Yeah, that guy before in the backgrounds. If you
this guy.
Yeah, that guy. He has a different face, but back there. if you go back there, you see him. He's like, "You what, mate?" Like that's, he's just staring at her like, "You what, mate? You think you're Chinese or something coming into our parliament?" Yeah, but anyway, that's what I imagine he sounds like anyway. But yeah, that's. Do you want to play it one more time? Why not? Let's just play it from there.
感谢每一位，感谢每。
Absolutely roaring with applause.
Isn't that amazing? That's so funny to me, man. Yeah, but anyway, I don't see what they'll really get out of this country. But anyway,
well, I mean, you're not going to get much when everyone's getting up to their eyeballs in debt. As our next article's coming along. Number of Kiwis falling behind on credit card payments nears 500,000.
Jeez.
So, I mean, that's like 500,000 people that have credit card debt, let alone like getting behind on it, which is like a pretty extraordinary number.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I'll read. Worrying new data has found the number of Kiwis falling behind on credit card payments is nearing 500,000 as households continue to struggle under tough economic pressures. So yeah, we are. The level is 6.1% higher year on year, tracking closely to 2018 levels after coming off historic lows. That equates to, wow, 439,000 individuals falling behind on payments. 4,000. Oh my God, that's terrible.
Well, I mean, it says right here, 12% of basically 12% of the.
How's that possible?
Of the active population is behind on credit card debt. So that's like not even counting people that have credit card debt and can currently pay it. I don't know. I mean, it's sort of bad to just have credit card debt in the first place, let alone like get behind on it.
Is this like really poor people or something? Like,
well, it's usually that's the thing with like when you're poor and you can't afford to pay for food, you just put it on your credit card. Like, it is like it's people in poverty like literally have like negative wealth because of they'll end up with like credit card debt, personal debt, car loans. So it is it's sort of messed up, but that's like a massive increase, and 4,000. An increase of 4,000 individuals in a month is it's a pretty big number. Cause for concern, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's amazing. I don't even know what to say about that, but that's a really frightening part. I think when you look across the board, about 12% of Kiwis are actually behind on their repayments at the moment. That equates to 439,000 people, Centric's managing director says. It does send a worrying signal to the market that there is a significant number of households in New Zealand that are struggling to maintain their payments. The proportion of home loans reported in arrears also rose in December, with 1.4% of accounts now in arrears. There are over 20,800 mortgage accounts past due. Wow, up 21% year on year, with many loans due to be repriced in the next 3 to 6 months. Oh my God.
Well, that's the thing. That's sort of been the.
Oh my God. That's horrible. What a nightmare.
Yeah, so you've got 12% of the population behind on credit card debt, which, to be fair, is like unsecured loans. So if they don't pay it, well, they're not going to get thrown in prison or anything. But
Yeah.
when you've got household debt as well, I mean, home loan debt going from 0.29 to 0.4 in, 3 months since October? That's a pretty big increase. So if this continues to increase as they're sort of implying, as you know how when people fix their loans, it's a 5-year cycle, and as more people, as that cycle lapses for more and more people, they're going to have to reset their loans at higher interest rates, closer to the 7% that banks are charging now. And there's just got to be a lot of people that won't be able to afford it because they bought these overpriced houses when interest rates were 1% or like whatever 2%. Now they're 7%. They're not going to be able to pay their new mortgage. Well, what the hell?
Oh, jeez.
My page just spazzed out. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty dire, and if this like trend continues of people not being able to pay their loans, pay their debts, there'll be less and less consumer spending, and you are going to look at another economic downturn in the next couple of months if we're not already there already.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. I can't. That is just so Wow, that's shocking. That's shocking. What do you think? How could this? I'm trying to think. Like, do people just not know? It's like poor people, yeah, but do people not know how to manage their money, or
there are people that don't know how to manage their money, and there's people that just overspend as well. Like, they'll have a lifestyle that they're accustomed to, and as inflation and prices go up, instead of managing their money better, they'll take out debt.
Actually, yeah, there is, like, I do know people who are like that, and
yeah, I'm
but
sure we
that
all
is
know
really
some people like
wild.
that. Apparently,
That
that's
is
12%
amazing.
of the population's like that. So
Yeah,
it's not an insignificant number. You've got 12% of the population that is like flat out broke, that can't afford to pay off their credit cards, which obviously isn't a good sign.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's amazing. Holy cow.
Oh.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, and it's gonna get worse. Or the WEF predicted that it's gonna get worse. I mean, where's all the statements by governments about how they're going to recover this economy? Oh well, I guess that was in the deal, right? What I mean, there was something about. Did this government say that? I've forgotten it already. They said they were open the mine again, and
yeah, I mean, opening a bunch of mines it'll create some growth, but what? It's not going to help 500,000 people get out of debt. Like,
well, yeah, not in regards to this. Yeah, no, certainly not. But yeah, okay, we should concentrate. Yeah, so I don't know. Did they say? I don't know. How do you even?
Well, I mean, that's just the system we live in. If people are not earning enough and they've got too much debt and they can't pay it off, like, they're just going to be continually stuck in a cycle of debt where they're going to have to just pay more and more of their productive labor to banks, which basically just invented this money in a database because we use a fractional reserve banking system. So more and more of people's debt is going to more and more of people's productive labor is just going to go towards paying off debt. And that's obviously not going to be good for growth. And this is like something people have known for thousands of years. But we decide to use the one monetary system where debt is basically the backing of currency. Like, people say fiat currency is backed by nothing. That's not true. It's actually backed by debt. When people get in debt, they create currency. And that is what our currency is basically backed by. So this is the system we live in.
Yeah, wild, crazy. So, and it doesn't look like it's, unless this government does something, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So, yeah, that's just totally taken me by surprise. It's already gotten that bad. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Well, and then also you're going to have the government pushing for mass migration and importing more like Pajeets to keep wages low. So
that's worrisome.
Wages aren't going to go up. Cost of housing is going to keep rising, and people are going to get more and more in debt. And there's not going to be any money for people to spend on anything else, like consumer goods, investing in their own businesses. So growth is going to become stagnant as people get in these debt traps.
Then basically you're just going to have the solidification of public-private partnerships in New Zealand, and they're going to, that I can see this being an avenue toward totalitarianism and authoritarian control. They're going to, this could pave the way very directly toward 15-minute cities. If people can't buy anything, if people can't own their own land, they can't even sustain their daily living. But I mean, there's some incredibly rich investors out there who are involved with all these NGOs, non-profits and stuff. I mean, they'll gladly buy up all the land, and yeah. So that's a big worry for our freedom. Actually, that's a big concern. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Well, anyways, while we wait for Gilbert, we'll get into the next topic. We'll move on to international news. That's the New Zealand part of the segment of the episode. That's the New Zealand segment. Hope you enjoyed it. It's sort of interesting. There wasn't really too much going on. Just Maori's doing funny dances, and yeah, unfortunately, growing debt, which is never good for the economy. But we'll get on to the international stuff now. So we're starting off with a quite important one, really. So you've got the tensions in the Middle East just being like, I don't know, turned right up, really. Like, it started with Gaza, and now obviously Iran and America are getting involved. You had the Houthis attacking the shipping lanes, And now you've got U.S. strikes on targets in Syria and Iraq, and you've had Iranian strikes on U.S. targets. So it's escalating quite rapidly between the United States and Iran. You could potentially see a US strike on Iran directly in the near future if it keeps escalating. It's quite bad, really. Do you want to read some of this, Gilbert?
Sure thing, yeah. U.S. strikes killed at least 39, including many civilians, as Iraq war instability is on brink of the abyss. Widespread reports say at least 39 were killed in Friday U.S. airstrikes on Iran-linked targets across western Iraq and eastern Syria, which used over 125 bombs and precision munitions, according to a Pentagon statement. There are reportedly civilians among the dead. The Baghdad government on Saturday said that 16 Iraqis, among them civilians, were killed, while on the other side of the border, Syrian Defense Ministry confirmed that both militants and civilians were killed without providing a figure. The Syrian military said that many civilian and military martyrs died. The anti-Assad monitoring group, UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said that Syria strikes killed 23 militia fighters.
So quite the escalation, really. I mean, this is after there was that Iranian, was it like a ballistic missile or cruise missile strike on the American base in Syria, and it killed 5 US soldiers, I believe. Or drone. I think it was drones, actually. I don't think it was a missile strike.
It was a swarm of the weird thing was it was a swarm of drones that came at them from the front, but that the story was that a single drone broke through their defensive line, I guess, from behind, from their rear, and it's really weird because they're supposed to have layers of defense to very
as air defense usually works. You have layers. You'd have like missiles, then you would have like Sea Whiz, then you'd have like lasers.
Yeah, right, and sort of the automated laser strike technology, where it's maybe I think even in this article they have an example of the kind of weaponry they use to repel these attacks. But supposedly a drone from behind came up and bombed.
Well, it's like it doesn't really make any sense. These systems are advanced, right? So they should be able to monitor threats from like a 360, like all angles. It seems sort of silly.
Yeah, the servicemen, the 3 servicemen were black though, so that maybe that's why. But no, I shouldn't say that. But it's odd. Like it's like, oh yeah, we had all our defenses on, but we just forgot to put our defenses on behind us or something like that. So it's
well, I guess they were black, so maybe they actually did forget to do that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was the story, and this provoked this response from the Biden administration, which took about 5 days, and they're likely to continue responding, actually, with what Biden calls a multi-tiered response to any attacks that the Iranians or Iranian proxies make. So we're not out of the woodshed yet.
Well, that's the thing with stuff like this. You're going to draw lines in the sand because, as it says here, the Iraqi defense minister called it blatant aggression against Iraqi sovereignty. So if you do stuff like this, you're just going to draw more and more lines in the sand against like the United States. Like America is supposed to be. I mean, Iraq's meant to be an American ally. But if you do like unauthorized airstrikes on Iraqi nationals without the permission of the Iraqi government, they're going to drift more and more towards like Iran and other powers in the Middle East that aren't aligned with the United States.
Exactly, yeah, creating a whole block, a significant portion of the world, in fact, that, you're pitting against the US, all at the behest of Israel, basically. Because let's remember this very key point that you're all thinking right now, that we're in this escalatory build-up to World War III because of Israel's genocidal slaughter of the Gazans. This is why we're at this point. I mean, the Muslim world is so inflamed right now that You know, and you know, the U.S. You know, of course, we know that the U.S. government is completely captured by Israel and Mossad, but you know that we don't. Nobody wants this, you know. Nobody wants
Well, yeah,
these.
exactly. American
Yeah,
troops in Syria and Iraq don't benefit anyone in America. It doesn't benefit America at all. The only one it
yeah,
does benefit is Israel.
is Israel, yeah, and even then, it's like, you know, everybody's coming. that they're so bloodthirsty that I mean, even then, it's like, well, does this even really help Israel? Really, I mean, it's so bad,
Maybe in the
and
long term it won't, but they see it in the short term. It's like, oh, we get to destroy our
yeah,
enemies.
yeah,
It's what
yeah.
was the Jewish word for revenge that they call it? Like the whatever it is.
Oh, right.
The Yiddish or whatever it was. Like there's the Jewish term where they go
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna basically slaughter like an entire people for revenge.
Well, that's basically Tikkun Olam, which is heal the world. But you know, they like to say that, but really, that's what it means. But I'm not sure. I've probably heard it before, but
Yeah,
yeah.
the term escapes me, but
Mm,
it's basically like, yeah, it's a bloodthirsty war of revenge. It doesn't help America, it doesn't help Europe, it doesn't help anyone else.
yeah.
Probably in the long term, it doesn't even help Israel, but they're sort of
Pure
hell
and
bent.
fast.
They're
Yeah.
hell bent on this war of destruction and absolute slaughter.
It's insane. It's really insane. Like
Yeah.
I really wonder what the heck is. It kind of makes me think. Like, is there like, because literally the whole world has condemned this except the United States. It makes me wonder. Like, do they have like a wild card or something that we're not seeing here? Because geostrategically, that and just geopolitically, that this is not good for, especially as you know, America is being so drastically downgraded every day. You
Yeah.
know, with the economy and the board and you know, you name it. You know, it makes me think like, are they really this? You know, smug and sure of themselves? Or do they really? And you know what? Some in history, some people really are that, you know, delusional.
I mean,
Let's say.
especially Jews, they're like the definition of it. So
Yeah,
they're the
yeah,
definition
yeah.
of that mindset. So that's why they're doing it.
They're the definition of like of suicide mission
Yeah, the definition of like
people.
hubris, really. I mean,
Mm,
you've seen this
mm.
like dozens of times throughout history.
Yeah, just destroy everything. And I mean, one thing's for sure, though. I mean, what's important to us, I guess, as Westerners, is that you know, us backing this, that this does not help. I mean, the main thing is America. You know that this is very important that that America is supplying them like 17.6 billion. I mean, just an insane amount of money for munitions and arms and stuff like that. I mean, this is you know, this is not going to bode well for the future of the U.S. unfortunately. And yeah, you're seeing an alignment, a block building up not only in the Middle East, but in basically the whole region. You know, Russia, China, Malaysia, you know, all over the world basically. And then as we saw earlier, you know, in South America, they're very much in line with those, if you will, Axis powers. So this is it's actually pretty scary, you know. And I would just say, you know, like it's really important that you guys, you know, keep talking to your friends and family and share this broadcast around with whoever you can, especially if you have a Twitter account. And even if you have a big Twitter account, like talk to you may talk to have you know other big Twitter accounts. It's like, you know, you use whatever influence you can to get this kind of information out there, guys, because you know none of us want to go. You know, it doesn't even matter if it's in 5 years' time or 20 years' time. We do not want to tread this path. You know, we want to fight back against Israel causing the whole world to go to World War III. You know, so nobody wants this. So yeah, I would just say like we need Americans to really just pressure and harass their Congress people and Senate representatives to just stop this war. Just you know, we really need there needs to America needs to be rebirthed in anti-Zionism. I think.
Well, I mean, just look at this right now. The U.S. House of Representatives votes to send $17.6 billion to Israel. It's like, how much money is that for each U.S. citizen?
Yeah. Insane.
Was that like $1,000 per each like adult tax-paying citizen in the United States?
Yeah. It's Look at this. This is. I mean, it's also it's part of a wider spending bill that's for Ukraine and Taiwan, but yeah, I mean this is just absolute travesty.
It says it right here. Assume that means 110 billion spending bill for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. So
yeah. It says here their leadership is aware that by failing to include the House in their negotiations, they have eliminated the ability for swift consideration of any legislation. Next week, we will take up and pass clean, standalone Israel supplemental package. Yeah. So they're going ahead with this, and it's going to replenish Israel's missile systems, provide Israel with advanced weapon systems, and produce more bombs and artillery shells. It also provides funding to replenish U.S. stockpiles of weapons that have already been sent to Israel.
It's funny that like America is literally like weakening its geopolitical standing with the amount of armaments it has by just sending it all to Israel, to, like bomb a bunch of hospitals.
Yeah, and of course there's it's so ridiculous. And this Iran strike, this Syria-Iraq strike, all they managed to do, they dropped a bunch of bombs, but it's like when they talk about command centers and like intelligence compounds, all they're really talking about there is like a shack or like a goat shed or something like that.
They'll
like
just see a building and be like, "Oh, this is where like the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is. Trust us."
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with like a DEI hires for like military geospatial analysts for viewing through satellites. Is they're like, yeah, it just look like the command center and shit. Let's bomb that shit. This is the destruction but of America as well as goat herders in Iraq. But it's like, I mean, so they just pour like billions of dollars of bombs into like blowing up goat shacks when Iran is very smart. They've learned from Afghanistan and they've learned from all these wars in the Middle East. Like even the Yemenis, they've moved everything underground.
Oh, I mean, the Yemenis have been bombed by the Saudis for literally a decade at this point, so you'd expect them to be pretty smart about it.
Yeah, I mean, they've learned, they know what to do, and once the US is, or US allies are done bombing them, they just come out with their drones or their speedboats that they like crash into, ships. That they've mastered modern asymmetric warfare.
Well, I mean, it worked in America. They were somehow able to strike this American military base that apparently had like advanced air defense systems somehow.
Yeah. So it's all a bit that's just, it's all a bit fishy, isn't it? But they're obviously competent, and they have all this stuff with drones and all these other asymmetric war techniques, and it's like, man, America is really just stuck with like big bombs that just blow up and it like might kill one person or something. Like it's
big bombs and a bunch of like Mexicans and like and blacks shucking and jiving on top of like Humvees or whatever.
That's so true. Sad but true. That's really where the military is actually going, come to think of it. But so I even like even Biden himself said like someone interviewed him and asked him like,
I think I've got that actually. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Share this one.
Oh, yeah.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, excuse me, it has it there as well. But this is a really great breakdown. Actually, if you want to read this,
I can read some of it. Biden sacrifices American troops in Middle East security for U.S. Yes, is basically what we're saying. U.S.-Israeli hegemony.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if people want to read this is a good article, a good breakdown of what's happening. But yeah,
I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it probably covers a lot of what we were saying before. Like they're basically making more and more enemies in the Middle East, such as Iraq, which is basically like used to be a U.S. puppet state. And now it's like drifting more further towards Iran because America just like they keep bombing people there without their permission, like violating their sovereignty. It's like, why would you want that as an ally?
Yeah, all this is like so strange that it just really makes you think that something really isn't right here. Something of course we know something isn't right. We have neocons in power, and the U.S. government, and it's completely captured by Israel. But I think something larger is probably going on here. I think at every level it looks like the U.S. is being destroyed because as nationalists we know, of course everybody listening to this, that they really have it out for our people and our way of life and who we are, because they view us as being in the way of their of the planet they'd like to have. So I think they're using every possible avenue they can to destroy the US, and then what comes next is wow, I suppose anybody's guess, but yeah, I think that's that. We're seeing, because they keep going on about the rise of Russia and China, and all these dictators and stuff, and it's like war all the time, while the U.S. is purposefully being dismantled. But anyway, I won't elaborate any more on that. I thought I'd just throw that out there. And Netanyahu himself has mentioned many times that he would like to destroy the United States. In various statements that he's made in the past. So anyway, yeah.
Well, speaking of escalations, as we've been talking about here, President Biden blamed what he called radical Iranian-backed militants groups operating in Syria and Iraq, holding all those responsible to account. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard in Iraq, which took credit for the operation, called it a direct response to Israel's genocidal agenda in Gaza.
That's what it is.
And the presence of American occupation forces in Iraq and in the region. The Iranian foreign ministry denied any involvement. So you've literally got Iran going, nah, this wasn't even us. America's like, nah, it was anyway. We're gonna bomb you.
Exactly. Yeah, all at the behest of Israel, because Iran to them, is the biggest threat to their what they view as their sovereignty in the world. So yeah, because Iran's never gonna and Israel's never gonna let up. So yeah, this is, I've got to say, this is really quite freaky, because somehow we've got to find a way to rein this country in. These people are insane. Like, if they don't get what they want in regards to solidifying their place in the world, they do have the Samson option, and there's also another strategy they have that's akin to the Samson option. Its name escapes me, but these are the kinds of people we're dealing with. So somehow we've got to. Talk about de-escalation. It really all depends on these people who are just out of control in this little country in the Middle East. Somehow we've got to rein them in. Somehow, I don't know how that can be done, but yeah, it's yeah. At least they're getting their butts kicked in northern Gaza, which is hardening. But I don't know if you guys have heard that, but they're actually struggling to fight Hezbollah.
Well, it's Hamas, not Hezbollah.
Hamas, thanks. Yeah.
Well, the war's been going on for nearly 4 months, and the progress has been pretty slow on the Israeli side. So
yeah.
Hamas is putting up quite a fight.
Yeah. They're really showing them. So just like in the 1980s in Lebanon, that's yeah.
Well, that was Hezbollah. But anyways, we'll continue. We'll move on to the next topic. It probably needs to be said because Tucker Carlson's getting like more and more, I guess you'd say, like clout recognition on sort of alternative spaces like Twitter for like these alt-right people that may call themselves like WNs go, oh, Tucker Carlson's our guy. He's epic. He's going to save the white race in America. But in reality, let's have a look for what he has to say. Like when he thinks it's like a safe environment and he's not in front of the cameras.
Меня зовут Алексей. Мне нравится то, что вы делаете.
Wait, I can't hear this. It's like a Russian guy.
Вы лучший журналист в США. Я живу в Москве.
Я люблю этот город. Он красивый. Thank you. Thank you. It's really, yes.
Что вы делаете в России?
Хотел на нее посмотреть. Я так много читал о ней.
It's like he's about to burst into tears.
То, как все устроено.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's...
Может быть, взять интервью у Путина? Ваш визит в Москву взорвал медиа США.
He's very reserved.
American media.
Я не знаю. Они сумасшедшие. Реально сумасшедшие.
Yeah.
Меня зовут...
Alright, well, that was sort of hard to understand because there was like dubbing and stuff going on.
Yeah, so, yeah, I didn't. Must have sent the wrong one, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah, Tucker Carlson is like the, he is of someone of incredible influence in the U.S. and a lot of people flock to his message, but really that he's he's not our guy and he shouldn't be anyone's guy. I mean, he's had a very interesting past, and I'll give
Speaking of that, I'll change the tab to something that we're talking about.
I will say this if I can just...
All right, can you see that, Gil?
Yep.
So, I mean, this is what Tucker Carlson really thinks about, like, white people, America, that sort of thing. Let's have a look.
I will say this if I can just make one prediction. So the United States is becoming non-white. Everyone's excited about it.
Well, so
or whether you're not excited about it, it doesn't matter. Whites are going to be in the minority. So what that means soon. So what that means is you're going to get at some point, probably in my lifetime, people standing up and saying, I represent white people. I'm the candidate of the white voter.
Right.
And I just want to say on the record that I'm going to tell that person to fuck off because nobody speaks. I'm an adult man.
I'm not white. I'm an individual. It's like pure like libtard, communist, like libtarded neocon things. Like no one's part of a race. We're all individuals. Like white people are. Europeans have absolutely nothing in common with each other. We're all just individuals floating on an island with no similar like language, cultures, or tastes. We're all just crazy individuals that watch Netflix and Marvel movies all day.
Yeah, and this is the quality, so to speak, of individuals that we have in popular American discourse and government and much of high society, shall we say? Go ahead.
And nobody speaks for me because he shares the same skin color as me. Like, I just reject that entire idea. If I agree with you, I'll let you speak for me. And if I don't, I won't. But this idea that someone of a certain skin color, any skin color, or any ethnic background speaks automatically on behalf of all people who share that skin color, ethnic background, is a Nazi idea, and I'm totally opposed to it.
Oh my god!
He like literally just goes straight to it as well. He doesn't even go.
That's
anyone that speaks up for the collective well-being of white people is an evil Nazi.
Yeah.
It's like you expect this like rhetoric from like I don't know, like the Maori Party or like the Socialist Party.
Joe
or something
Biden.
Like Joe Biden.
Joe Biden basically said the same thing in another clip.
Be opposed to it when it happens to me. When somebody, and this will happen. Someone's gonna. Oh,
look, he gets so offended when he goes, "Someone's gonna speak up for white people at some point because they're becoming a minority." He literally loses
white
his
people.
mind.
I'm gonna be like, I don't even know you, dude. I don't even know you. I refuse to allow you to purport to speak for me because we look the same. Period.
And this is exactly why white people have to collect together in our own defense. Because
well, I mean, if you even do that slightly, apparently you're a Nazi.
Yeah,
so, like base Tucker Carlson, base Tucker Carlson's that's going to save the white race or whatever. Here's some more like crazy clips of Tucker.
Yeah, he didn't actually say this, but I can back this up.
My father was in the CIA through Voice of America.
Is this like a fake clip?
I think so. I don't think this is him, but the reason why I shared this was it's basically all true. It's all there. I can back this up. But
so he didn't actually say this, but what's being said is actually true. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay.
I don't think he said this, but yeah, I don't think he would say this. but it is true, and I can back that up next by reading some things. But
okay, cool. All right, I'll play it anyway.
My father was in the CIA through Voice of America. I tried to join the CIA, but they didn't let me in. But do you know what it means to be sheep-dipped? The CIA isn't what it used to be. It's not some monolithic anti-communist behemoth anymore. No, it's neoliberal, it's diverse, it's Marxist-Leninist. Maybe, just maybe. I've worked out some sweet deals with certain Eastern intelligence outfits. Who knows? Now, my father is a quote-unquote lobbyist for Viktor Orban, whose father was KGB, and Viktor himself was quote-unquote state security. No, that means KGB early in his career. Do you understand his geopolitical alignment now? Do you understand my geopolitical alignment now?
Yeah.
My father was in the...
Right.
So yeah, exactly. So that everything there is true. So yeah, basically, his father, Richard Carlson, was heavily involved in the CIA. He knew Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford, and Ronald Reagan actually appointed him as CIA intelligence officer to distribute propaganda for the CIA in Soviet Nicaragua, and he was a diplomat in Africa, and also he was actually working on behalf of the Likud party in Hungary.
Israel. I
yeah.
was thinking of something else.
Yeah, he was in Hungary doing propagating Likud propaganda in Hungary, and he the interesting thing is and Viktor Orban himself, many people don't actually know this, that he was actually Viktor Orban we're talking about was in his youth a communist youth wing leader, and yes, his father had links there as well with KGB. So this is, I mean, that Tucker has links to, this isn't nothing. When someone's family is involved with the CIA, this is significant. That's not just that this is they take this stuff very seriously. They're very closeted about all of it. So this is majorly, and Tucker himself has actually traveled all along, all around Eastern Europe and throughout all these places, doing what we know this much, but doing God knows what, saying God knows what, and all these in all these countries with all these people. So I mean, basically creating all this propaganda for the CIA and these socialist nations. And if people don't know that he spoke at the Knesset, at the House of Commons. This is Dick Carlson again, Tucker's father, and yeah, if people don't know, like, the
Knesset is the Israeli parliament, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for that. He was also a registered agent for the Orban government, which is, by the way, is extremely close with Mossad in Israel. So that's another point. There's all these little dots that people are beginning to connect now with Tucker and his links to Likud, the CIA, these kind of weird socialist states, and the Knesset. He worked with Peter Thiel and Mencius Mollweg, who are connected to Israel, of course. When Netanyahu it looked like he was about to be potentially overthrown, Tucker called him, in support of him, the Churchill of our time, or the Churchill of the Middle East. So it's like a lot of these really weird links. And then another interesting thing that happened relatively recently, back in 2023, on top of all of this knowledge that we have accrued so far, is that Nick Fuentes, there was apparently a lot of his friends, a lot of the people who knew him from his past, they were contacted by who was it now? Aides of Max Blumenthal, and basically Max Blumenthal and his daughter Sydney Blumenthal were working together with Tucker Carlson to create a hit piece on Nick Fuentes, basically to out him as a Fed to their Republican base. And yeah, it was pretty incredible that there were all these connections revealed. They were doing it through a platform called Influenceable, where basically it's an app where you pay content creators, whether they be on Instagram or whatever platform, you pay them under the table for content that they put out. So they were going to basically pay people to put this hit piece on Nick Fuentes out, as well as Tucker Carlson doing a report on it. And it actually wasn't until people all over Telegram were posting about this report or this strategy that had leaked, that they actually contacted Nick and asked for a truce and say, hey, please stop attacking us. We don't want anything to, we don't want to do this anymore. You know, let's just bury the hatchet. And one of the interesting things, there were a lot of rabbit holes and connections revealed of this very interesting development, but the first person who sent out this influenceable repost or tweet was a man named Ben Geller. And Ben Geller, a New York Jew, by the way, he put $100,000 to this. He was the first one. Nobody else tweeted it out. And the the interesting thing about this was, this is a guy who he's a part of the normie right wing. We kind of like Trump, but we curse him beneath our breath, that sort of thing. While we watch you get so excited. This guy was actually in the DMs, the Instagram DMs of teenage boys, asking them out and stuff like that.
What the?
So it's he's into some really sick stuff. So this is sort of the, and of course you've got Max Blumenthal and Sidney Powell as big names. So that was that with that Nick Fuentes scenario, someone who is constantly attacking and criticizing Zionism and is very pro our people. It is interesting to see that this should happen at such high ups, and on top of all that, Tucker Carlson, people, I know people are suspicious of Trump and stuff like that, but Tucker Carlson never liked Donald Trump. But sorry, the fact is that Trump has captured the nationalist imaginations of every American who supports him, right? And I think there's certainly a lot to be critiqued there. I think there is even now something there that could make him useful to us and our cause. It's certainly better than Biden, I would think, at least. And I think RFK is a Zionist plan. Not that Trump isn't that way as well, but that there's a little bit more material to work there at least. But Carlson himself, said that in his text messages and things like that, that for the past 4 years he called Trump a demon who's destroying everything. And during Stop the Steal, he made no reports. He didn't do anything about the obvious Stop the Steal. And he actually sided with the Democrats and the mainstream media that there was no...
just mentioned RFK, so I thought we should share this because
okay, go ahead.
Oh no, you finish up what you're saying, and then we'll move on.
Sure. I'll give this is if you want to play it now, yeah.
All right, we'll play it now.
This is good.
The volume's good.
Do you, sir? Do you have? I don't agree with that, but okay. Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
It's like it needs to reboot.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Do I think the Israelis have more influence than others? David, I believe in the in supporting Israel, that it's important for the United States. And you and I can disagree on that, I believe. And I believe our aid to Israel at $4 billion
is not enough. We need to send them $6 billion.
I'm not trying to connect you.
I don't like
wait, I haven't seen all this.
Because he's the prime minister of the country who you're pledging to fund their war. So of course I have to bring up who he is. I'm saying Benjamin Netanyahu, the man who you are saying, who you say.
It's like, oh, Yves, stop asking completely reasonable questions.
Yeah, look at him. Look at his hand.
You will support his war until the end. Give them everything they need. He has been, since the 1990s, lying to the American people, saying Iran is 5 years away from developing a nuclear weapon. Do you not have any misgivings about supporting someone in a foreign government who is lying the American people into a war which he wants us to fight, not them? It's not Israel who's going to be fighting a war with Iran. It's the young men in our country.
I'm not sure who this guy is. I don't know if he's like a leftist or what, but it's actually a sort of good point.
Yeah, no, he makes a very good. He's Dave Smith. He's kind of he's a libertarian, and I believe he supports Trump, and he's an all right guy. I don't really have anything against him. I think he's a bit too pro certain people that we shouldn't be pro, like the whole Putinist kind of pro-Putinist, pro-Tucker Carlson thing. He's a bit too Putin ain't actually such a bad guy, But but otherwise, Dave Smith's pretty good. Like, but anyway, with that video, isn't that amazing? The time it took.
It was like a good 10-second pause before he even said anything.
That is amazing.
It was like a 10-second pause, and he's like, "Oh, we don't actually send them enough money."
Yeah, and this guy talks about so much about children and children's health, in terms of not taking the cookie dough injection.
You know what else is bad for your health? Like getting blown up in Iran.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, but he won't say anything about the Gazans or the Palestinians. This is it's a very unfortunate thing, let me say, because I was kind of.
It's crazy how blatant that is as well. It's sort of funny, like how sort of on the nose and blatant that entire clip is.
And his uncle and his father were, of course, we know they were, oofed by the Zionists. That we all know that, right? I should probably post that documentary that really lays it out flat. I'll post it to Endeavour News, the Twitter, and the
we'll post it there at some point.
Yeah, because that is a really great doc, and you need to share. I thought I posted it. Maybe I'll post it again if I haven't, but or if I have. But that is that. But RFK, he. I think he is very much a Zionist asset. He said some other really interesting things. I would liken them to Kabbalistic things, which is really makes you think. Like I don't want to go too deep, and I'm not trying to take it there either. But this guy is, and of course we know that about Donald Trump. But we will see. We want to bring it over to the right. I mean that RFK hasn't had really that he comes from a family of liberals. He's a liberal himself.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure part of his campaign is literally giving reparations to blacks or something. That's part of his presidential campaign.
Yeah. I think he's installed to actually take votes away from Donald Trump. To be honest, because there is significant overlap there. But that he didn't talk about the stuff happening in Gaza is just. I think that really soured a lot of people on him and on Israel in general. So it's very sad. It's very sad. But that's just how captured things are. So it's very unfortunate. But could I just say?
Finish off.
I'll just finish up here because there's a lot on Carlson. But of course, Oh, I'll just finish up by saying this. There was the Dominion voting systems things where he sided with the media and the Democrats, and yeah, this guy and that clip we played of him before saying, "Oh, why do we need to be white people?" It's like that. There have been numerous times where he's said things like that. He's traveled all over Eastern Europe and stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see, because this man is so influential in the American right wing and the right wing at large in the world. It's going to be really interesting to see where he takes this interview and what the results of that will be, because a lot of people in the right wing make this mistake of gestating this pro-Putinist, pro kind of, even pro-China, pro-North Korean, which is really
it's
weird.
It's like the retarded Nazbol like mindset, and
basically,
it's like Putin. Russia was basically like a Jewish-run oligarchy for like 30 years, and to now say that like, oh, he's simply epic now, he's going to save the white race, is sort of retarded.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens with this interview, but I think it will be interesting. I think it's good to have dialogue, but I mean, this is yeah. I'm almost certain he'll take it in a way to portray to Trump, to show Trump supporters and perhaps other Americans to put him in a really good light, I suppose. Well, look, I'm not sure how it's going to be done, but it's yeah, I think it's pretty clear to me that judging by his past, that he's really trying to shill for Putinism and Eurasianism. That's Tucker Carlson. It's another form of woke libtard politics, is what it is. It's instead of blacks
just going like, oh, everyone's like an individual, and anyone that speaks up for the collective well-being of white people or Europeans is a Nazi. It's like literal it is literal libtardism.
Yeah, and that's what they have in Russia as well. I mean, the ethnic Russians are they are oppressed, and it's a terrible thing, and needs
well, that's
to
the
change.
thing. If you speak up for the collective well-being of like ethnic Russians in Russia, they'll put you in jail or like a mental institution.
Straight away. They have it's insane. They'll storm your house and put you. And a lot of the people who have done that have been in jail for 20, 30 plus years now, and we have no idea of what's going on with them. So it's so I mean that's where we're headed if we don't try and push back against all of this. And they tried to do the same thing with the Maori community. They tried to gestate that communist sentiment, and I believe a lot of the New Zealand government is, well, they've created, as Yuri Bezmenov said, that they've created these automated independent proxies all over the world where they carry out their bidding for them and achieve just what they like. So it's like they don't even have to pull any strings. They're pulling their own strings for them. And this is why we get all this wave of retarded politics that gets us nowhere.
Yeah.
And why we
I mean,
fail
people just
every
talking
time.
about like retarded nonsense about, oh, we should like side with China instead of America. It's like, how does that even help like New Zealand in the slightest? It's like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, it gets very weird like that. All these boutique issues, Code Pink, which is sponsored by Russia, which is like a tranny news outlet or something. And it's really weird. And it's these issues that lead us nowhere to either, it's either this way or that way. Go ahead.
Speaking of like Russian and like communist corruption of actual issues, I don't have any of the tabs for it, but I was reading it the other day. Apparently, like there's one called like the Texas National Movement, and it's like trying to cash in on the sentiment that, oh, Texas is against the federal government, but this like Texas National Movement leading all these protests and whatnot is like run by a like KGB like Russian SFB funded shill.
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, that's exactly what they do all the time.
Yeah.
Similar thing with like certain BLM activists and all kinds of like there's this gay Iranian guy who's like very pro-Putinist, and this gay British Iranian guy, or he's raised in he's in Britain, I guess, but yeah, he shills a lot, and no criticism of the Kremlin or Putin, just just the West is bad, the West is so they're it's like it's everywhere, all these shills, they might get some beta bucks or whatever, but yeah, it's really incredible. And when you criticize it, you just get attacked. There's no substance there. It's literally like a suicidal Putin cult or something. Just no thought in it at all.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty
I've
serious.
seen that as well. Like
I
they
think some
are.
people just like to be contrary. I don't really get it. Like some people just go, "Oh, West bad, so Russia must be good." So it's like the world doesn't like work like that. It's not black and white. Like, they can both
Yeah.
they can both be bad. Like it's not
Oh
it's
yeah.
not that hard of a concept.
Oh yeah. And yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, anyways, maybe we should go on to some like white pill topics.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah. So yesterday there was the El Salvadorian general election, probably like the one world leader that doesn't completely suck. Bukele. He ended up winning over 80% of the vote against like 5 other contenders. So it was a 6-person race, and he ends up winning over 80% of the vote. So it's basically like unheard of in a democracy. And they're still counting it, so it might go up. Pretty crazy, like when you're a world leader and you actually like deliver on your promises and make your country a better place, like people actually like you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe who would have thought,
Yeah, who would have thought of such a radical thing? Like, if you actually like improve your country as a leader, people are going to vote for you.
Yeah. So that's good. What do you?
Yeah,
what do you take away from?
that's just that. I mean, there isn't really too much to say. I just thought it was a interesting topic. Like people have been seething about this guy for like 3 years straight, going, "Oh, he's anti-democratic because he locked up gang members," and then yeah, he wins over 80% of his vote.
Yeah. So where is he? He's a libertarian type as well, or?
He's not a libertarian type. He's more of like a. Well, I guess somewhat, but he took a very sort of like harsh on crime approach and like actually like put criminals in prison, which is something in the West that is like nearly unheard of now. So he put criminals in prison and basically improved his country by making it safer.
Yeah.
And because of that, he ended up winning his election by like a landslide that is completely unheard of in like any Western Hemisphere nation.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, because of he might be following the Malay or.
He's
and
better than
Bitcoin.
Malay. I mean, he's still a bit of like a libertarian, but at least he's not like a completely cringe one that goes, "Oh, we should just completely sell out the country to BlackRock or something."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, interesting how he's steered his country to using Bitcoin as the reserve currency.
I mean, they should ideally be using Monero, but I guess if he did that, he might end up like having like CIA hit squads going after him. So maybe that's why he didn't do it.
Yeah, well, at least they have the option of transferring it to Monero if they so wish, I suppose. But yeah, I think that's probably the way of the future with Bitcoin. If we're all going to get poorer, then Monero. I don't know if I fully trust Bitcoin, but I think you should all have Bitcoin, a bit of Bitcoin at least. But yeah, I think probably maybe not Bitcoin necessarily, but Monero and these other privacy coins are the way of the.
Yeah, I'm a Monero Chad, so I say Monero. That's my take.
Monero Chad. Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear.
Anyways,
yeah,
there wasn't really too much to say about that topic. It's just I just thought it was interesting.
No, that's good. That's good. So we'll wait to see what the other 40 or so elections yield this year. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, I think tomorrow you've got the Nevada primary. I think Trump's going to win that one. So
yeah.
Okay, so and then here, this is the last one I've got. So you've got some more white pills in Ireland. You've got thousands of people protesting against like the government's mass migration agenda. So it's pretty epic. Realistically, this should be happening like every Western country.
Yeah.
Look at all these. Yeah, it's pretty good. You got literal streets filled up of Irishmen that don't want to like be replaced by whatever like brown labor force that the elites want to import to undercut like the local workers.
Yeah. I mean, Finally, right? It's I guess Ireland is different because they're a lot more of a local kind of communal, at least from what I know.
Yeah, and they've got like the history of the plantation workers of like when like the British landlords would bring in like cheap workers to work on these farmlands that used to be owned by, you know, native Irishmen. So they do have the history of that. So that's sort of why these protests seem to be like much more of a factor in Ireland than you see other places, which are much more complacent. But it is interesting though. It's great to see people, you know, coming out to stand up against like literally the multicultural mass migration globalist agenda.
Destruction. Yeah, that's occurring. So yeah, I guess we can expect more of that to happen because it's like finally, right? We didn't used to have marches that were explicitly, you know, protesting against mass migration. But now they seem to be more common. What with AFD and other right wing elements in Europe, like Sweden as well.
Yeah, it's good. You love to see it. But no, that's all the topics I've got for this week. So
yeah. Oh yeah, is that it? We didn't have anything else.
That's all my tabs. So that's all my tabs. That's all I got. So.
Okay. All right. Wow.
So I guess we should just wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you had a great day off today, if you did.
Yeah. I hope you all had a good public holiday. Thanks for tuning in.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter and not Instagram. On TikTok, on Twitter or X and Telegram. That's it. And
Gab, YouTube, and Rumble as well. So make sure to follow us on all those. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you had an epic public holiday. As always, I hope you're staying healthy, fit, and active. As always, stay blessed, not stressed. We'll see you potentially this weekend.